Hi, creators. Doro Kiley here with creationcoach.com. Thanks for joining me again. I had a great walk today. It's raining acorns here. It's like they're just falling constantly. It's pummeling down, and I go for a walk and they're bouncing off me. So I did an experiment. I picked up a few acorns, I brought them home, and I'm going to try to leach the tannins out. Anyway, that's not the name of the talk today. today, today we're going to actually look at a really important question that comes up a lot these days, and it is, how do you manage fear? And I may have done another video or two on this subject, but I'm going to approach it from a little bit of a different angle. In Buddhism, the very first noble truth is there is suffering in life. All life is suffering. And a lot of people say, oh, that's ridiculous. Those billionaires are not suffering or whatever. But what it is we suffer no matter how much money we have. We suffer because things change. And that means we're afraid of losing something we love, something that's important to us, or we're afraid of getting something we don't want. We get caught doing something and get punished or whatever. So those two things, the constant underlying, kind of maybe almost at the edge of subconsciousness fear of losing something we love, or our own health or whatever, or getting something we really don't want. Fear of disease, or fear of our spouse cheating on us. So we always have underlying fear. And it is so normal for us that it's just the foundation of everything we do. So it's very interesting in this day and age, because fear is kind of the change, I should say, is you can't stop it. It's time marches on. So if change is what causes subtle fear or big fear, then you take one look at the headlines today and every day and every day and every day these days, and all the time, not just the news, but you go on any Twitter or whatever, there's a lot of, and I actually sat down for only 5 minutes and came up with a list that is so long of words that naturally trigger fear in people. So famine, assassination, conspiracies, school shootings, and then suicides, tortured, abused, drought. I mean, I've got a list that could take up page after page, that this is what we're dealing with. So we right now are living in, constant threat. There's talk of World War III, and how do we manage all that? I mean, what's that? And I want to say it's actually an opportunity. If your goal is to overcome fear, we're going to reach burnout pretty quick. We are so tired of all of these threats coming at us 24/7 that we're kind of, I think we could be reaching a burnout. Not that we are going to, I don't think, well, of course I don't know, but I'm thinking in terms not of burning out to the point where you become just emotionally dead and apathetic, but more along the lines of what Buddha meant, which was more, we are much more than our physical apparatus. And the consciousness, the awareness that we are, and we're just kind of hitching a ride with these bodies, that they're actually, one of my favorite sayings is, what's the opposite of death? Usually people would say life, but no, the opposite of death is birth. Life has no opposite. It just goes on and on and on. So if we can be okay with that idea, that truth, actually, I'm not going to speak for everybody. That's my truth. So if we are more than just these mortal bodies, then we have an opportunity to overcome fear. We are daily now living with constant threats of annihilation. So, if tomorrow, if today's our last day, which it could be no matter what, it could be World War III, it could be an asteroid, it could be anything, then we'd all be wiped out. So if we have to live with that every day, we might as well make the best of it and not be afraid. And that does not mean just run out and go crazy, but take advantage of this opportunity to overcome fear. So I don't think, so how do we do that? Overcome fear. That's really a big statement, isn't it? I think for me, it starts with minimizing the stories in our head. Turn off the TV, or just shut down the computer, or at least don't look at all this stuff. It's all catch bait. All of these words, all these words are catch bait. They want you to click. That's what counts. So if you don't do all that clicking and just don't pay any attention, you can feel how these headlines grab you. It's it's really entertaining if you're just watching your emotions. I can go through headlines and see something, and I can feel my finger wants to click on it because I'm curious. I'm either curious or I'm scared, or both. And so that's one thing we need to do, is minimize our exposure to all this stuff. Be mindful of the fact that these are clickbait words. They're, all of the media, everybody, and I'm not even talking the mainstream news outlets. I'm talking about everybody on the internet right now. Whoever has an account or a profile and they want to sell something, they oftentimes will start with a threat. You're not going to get the girl if you don't do this, or look at those disgusting teeth, you need to do something about that, and if you don't have this, you're a loser, or if you don't take this, you're going to get sick and die. I mean, everything is geared toward this, pull you into fear and concern and worry. And so that's kind of what we're marinating in all the time these days. There was a time when humanity didn't have these many threats. Yeah, we were always had to be wise about, predator animals, but they were predictable. You could know how to deal with them, and on the off chance you didn't, it was one time you didn't sit around worrying about it all the time. And people weren't constantly trying to pull you into this anxiety so that you would pay more attention. I think there was a time when we used to live for generation after generation after generation very, very harmoniously with the earth and everything else. So, so when I say minimize our stories in our head, when we feel something, we see something that triggers us into that fear, we don't want to augment it with stories like, oh my God, what if? And oh my, it's fine to have basic preparations for anything, but to have anxiety about it is, in my opinion, overblown. I'm not going to say a waste of time because, even the squirrels will prepare for winter. They see what's coming and they know how to prepare, but they don't worry about it. They don't, bite fingernails and, so there's a degree of preparation, but that would come naturally. You don't need all of these constant doom scrolling things on the internet to cause more and more and more fear. So first thing I do to manage fear is I minimize what's coming into my senses. I don't need to hear all these words about World War III, and it's just not what I don't want to put my energy in that direction. And the next thing I do is I stay mindful. If I do see a threat or hear a threat, clearly there's going to be a reaction. You feel the heart pounding, and you go into this what they call sympathetic nervous mode about fight, flight, and all this, and continue to have your plan, but not to be so obsessed with it that you're not paying attention. So you still, a degree of very good mindfulness is required. So those would be my two ways of letting go of fear. You know, astrologically, I read somewhere that this coming year, next year, or maybe it's the end of this year into next year, astrologically, it's supposed to be showing that there's this tremendous wave of releasing fear. I don't know what that means. I think it might mean people are just going to get all burnt out with all these drastic headlines constantly, and they're just going to not pull us in or be interesting for us anymore. Yeah, we'll kind of check headlines to see what's going on, but we may stop getting drawn in from fear. Now that would be nice, wouldn't it? So I see this as an opportunity to just let it go. If something happens, you would know what to do at that moment. Sure, you can have, some dried food and flashlights on hand. I do all the time because we lose our electricity a lot up here in the mountains, so we're always ready for that. And I think basic preparations are good, but to be fearful, I think it's a waste of energy. It takes us out of our creative mode. We can't figure out what to do. We just become reactive. So with that, it's kind of dragging on. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope you will all stay creative.